I got some bombshells here for you. Dr. Stephen Greer from the UFO community might be an Israeli spy. Yes, I'm just as shocked as you are. I have been watching, friends. This is Ian Carroll, researches conspiracies. He's on Candace Owens, pretty much her podcast, just her show. It's, oh man, we're going to show you some stuff, right? This UFO community is absolutely bonkers. Let's just crack on right through. So, who's Dr. Stephen Greer? Now, Dr. Stephen Greer, friends, it's tough because Dr. Greer, all right, he makes some fantastical claims about UFOs, okay? Not that they're real, which we know. Not that they're around, which we know. Not that they're all powerful, which we know. His claims are, he's really adamant that they're all good. They're all kind to us. And whenever we see ones doing not so kind things, he says, it ain't UFOs, it's humans. Okay? He's very adamant about that. So why he's controversial in the UFO community? Because Dr. Greer, firstly, to him, everybody's a CIA disinformation agent. And he's right about a lot of them, like Lou Elizondo, right? You remember, like, Lou Elizondo, friends, now twice, Lou Elizondo has given fake BS reports on UFO sightings, which have been proven wrong. And also, Lou Elizondo has got a book. Everything he says is Pentagon approved. But we're like, okay, dude, you're like, this is the interesting part, friends. Do you know who the government hates? Who they really, really, really hate? Bob Lazar. Yeah, that tells you, bro. This guy's is legit. Government hates him. Hates. Everyone from there, they're like, nah, he's lying. He's full of crap. They all say that. When it comes to their government-approved people, no, this guy, I love you. Now, here's the thing with Dr. Greer, friends. Dr. Greer, a lot of the biggest UFO leaguers, David Grush, you know, people who go and report to Congress, they've gone through him first. Okay, so Dr. Greer, this is the thing. He has revealed a lot of truthful things in terms of truthful leaks. There's that part, though, where he genuinely believes that, well, now we're going to question things, right? He says, whenever there's UFO abductions, anytime, every UFO abduction story, he says it's military. Okay? So that's where it gets controversial in the UFO community. Okay? So this is him giving like a presentation. What he's saying is, he goes, the UFOs that are kind, they don't do the abductions. They don't do anything bad. What he keeps saying is, he goes, look, every time any abduction or anything's taken, he says it's the breakaway civilization, deep state military. They've abducted people. They've ran their own tests. And what they're doing is they're trying to create fear in everybody such that we hand over our rights to the government, and they're gonna, that's what he says, that there's gonna be like a fake alien invasion. And to do that, they've got to like basically train the population to think aliens are bad. They're coming from outer space. So we have to like sign up our rights to the government. They do more black budget stuff, and they basically keep us on lockdown. So this is where it's going to get confusing, because like for someone like, I'm going to show you some stuff that is working with Mossad and the Coconut Intelligence Agency back in the day. So we don't know what happened there. We'll go through it shortly. But when you see something like that deep level, it's like would the government create a story to wake people up like that? No, you wouldn't. That's like so close. But let's listen to this.
So now, speaking of rocket ships and people lying, let's talk about UFOs. Now, I know that a lot of you probably never think about UFOs, and people that do all have wildly different opinions and takes. It's interesting, but also it feels at least a little bit like a PsyOp. It's dizzying to keep up with all the drama in the UFO community, and without Candace around to give it the Blake Lively treatment, it's largely the Wild West of conspiracy theories as far as I'm concerned. But just recently, a content creator called Museum of Tarot exposed one of the largest and longest standing UFO influencers to potentially be an Israeli plant. Stephen Greer. If you're not familiar with this dude, he's spent the last 30 years collecting every whistleblower under the sun and compiling their testimony, and allegedly running around briefing presidents and CIA directors, etc., about the threat of UFOs and the secret government reverse engineering programs. Some of his claims are believable, And some of them are completely ridiculous, like the time he claimed to have an alien body that turned out to be the bones of a deformed human child. So, a couple of months ago,
Just to touch on that as well, we do have the other pterodactyl. There is another body that they've actually found, which they've confirmed ain't a deformed human. It's actually got like 3 fingers and stuff out here. They're revealing more information on that now. But yeah, just to add to it, Venzo, that it's basically like Dr. Greer was the one who says everything's disinformation. He goes, they call it the poison pill. They give you a nice one bit of truth and everything around it's poison. But this is just wild, man. So yeah, this is wild. Let's continue.
Ago, Brent, Museum of Tarot, went on my friend Danny Jones's podcast and dropped a bomb on Stephen Greer's career. He brought documentation that he had dug up that seemed to imply that Stephen Greer had a long-lost secret history with Israel that he never seems to mention anymore. Let's watch this clip.
The bridegroom is the son of Mr. and Mrs. James Greer of 1201 Princeton Avenue. He attended the Appalachian State University and is employed in the Information Processing Department at Baha'i World Center. After a trip through Israel, the couple will live in Haifa and work at the Baha'i World Center.
Yep. That's the original marriage notice. Baha'i was regarded as an intelligence gathering operation for Mossad.
And
But
Stephen Greer
drops,
worked for these people.
And he worked for them. He started with those people. Then he got...
This is before he was an emergency room doctor?
You know, I've done a lot of research on Stephen Greer. I don't want to make any claims that get me in any kind of trouble about Stephen Greer, but it doesn't look to me like he had enough time to even do medical school and a residency. And certainly the old newspaper articles don't refer to him as Dr. Greer. It's like he goes right into UFO stuff. So if he worked, there's indication he worked for a very short time at a small hospital in Western North Carolina and then went directly into shilling UFOs for Rockefeller.
Holy shit.
We're gonna go do more, man. Like, this is going deep. That's why I did this UFO stuff. Man, there's so many puzzle pieces moving. It is crazy. It's crazy. Government's involved. Like, there is stuff going on there. There's deception and everything going on. But I kept thinking, what are the implications if Dr. Greer is working for Mossad? What are the implications of that? Now, we don't know if he is, okay? We'll go through even more information. Actually, Ian actually digs up that article, which we're going to go through. So there is stuff that we'll uncover. And it makes you think, does that mean Israel's involved with some of these? Are they doing the bidding of US government? Do you remember, friends, the Israel professor who confirms UFOs? Do you remember that? What's his name here? Eshed. Yes, the Israeli space chief. Him. Haim Eshed. He literally, in his 70s, really smart. He came out, was it like in 2020? He goes, look, making a confession. There's an international space force. Humans, we've been on Mars or the moon. We got a base there. He goes, there's an intergalactic federation, pretty much. US government has communicated with them. Yes, and we basically got a deal. Right? He just comes out, flat out says that. And then that's it, just goes cold. And people have tried to ask him. I think he won't do any public interviews after this. Right? He just says, like, look, we just get used to it, guys. It's wild, man. Form military space. Look, it's this, yeah. So this is from years ago as well. He actually says Trump knows about it. This was in Trump's first term. He goes, Trump knows about it. Everyone knows about it. And that's on, we were like, I read that because I'd just been listening to Joe Rogan for like 2 years at that point. I was like, oh my gosh, we're like progressing the unraveling of stuff. Let's continue.
Danny Jones has talked to a lot of wild people and heard a lot of wild claims. And that pause of just what the kills me. But it's always important to double check your sources. It's always important to try to corroborate things for yourself. And so I was able to dig up and corroborate the newspaper clipping that Brent references independently online, all on my own. It is pulled from the Charlotte Observer, published on Thursday, October 30th, 1979. And it says what Danny read on screen. I'll just read a little bit from it right now. Quote, Haifa, Israel. Emily Kramer and Stephen Greer were married Saturday at Baha'i World Center. Further down it says, the bridegroom is the son of Mr. and Mrs. James Greer of 1201 Princeton Avenue. He attended Appalachian State University and is employed in the Information Processing Department at Baha'i World Center. After a trip through Israel, the couple will live in Haifa and work at Baha'i World Center. Now, this is interesting for a number of reasons. First, the photo included is clearly identifiable as being the correct Stephen Greer, even though he's much younger. Aside from all the other corroboration as far as where, when, names, etc. So as Brent points out, Greer never seems to mention Israel all that much these days. And this is right at the age where one would be recruited as an intelligence asset. It also is immediately before he goes out into the world and starts to become the man that the UFO community knows today. Also, an interesting rabbit hole on Baha'i. Baha'i is sort of a universal faith that plays into all religions and has practitioners all around the globe. I'm not familiar with any of the nuances of their beliefs or practices. Brent says Baha'i was widely considered to be an intelligence gathering operation for Mossad. And now I haven't done the full dive on Baha'i by any means, but Iran certainly thinks that Baha'i is an intelligence operation for Mossad and the CIA. In 2014, there are a small handful of articles referencing claims made by Ahmad Saleh, chairman of Iran's Parliamentary Cultural Commission. And he said, quote, I declare very explicitly that Baha'ism is an espionage organization which gathers intelligence for the CIA and Mossad, and there are abundant documents to prove this. Now, there is a small handful of Western publications mocking this assertion, which really doesn't give you much to go on. If Baha'ism isn't an intelligence gathering operation, then the CIA and Mossad are definitely missing out on a convenient opportunity, though, as global groups like niche religions make great espionage covers. Scientology.
So we're starting to go deep, man. We're starting to go deep. So, yeah, we're going to even show more information. He did work for them. But you got to think about what he's like. So Dr. Greer, he's PsyOps, right? What is the PsyOps? He's been saying, okay, he goes, oh, the aliens are real. But he goes, they're all good. All of them are good. And whenever there's an abduction, it's not aliens, it's humans. But this is why, like, he's got a lot of truth there. We have a breakaway civilization. I mean, friends, of like, it's already confirmed $21 trillion is missing tornado cash from America. And obviously it's gone to do R&D. And it's confirmed by Catherine Fitz, who used to work at the White House, right? And she's been talking about this for decades. 21 trillion, okay? So that money being siphoned out, Dr. Greer's been talking about it, but that's what I'm thinking. He's so adamant to tell us all the UFOs are good. So I'm trying to almost like fade that. What does the opposite of that mean? Okay, using intelligence, Coconut Intelligence Agency and Mossad type of things. That's how they work, friends. So they say, oh yeah, it is real, but there's something else you're missing. That's the real part. So, oh yeah, aliens are real, but they're all good. It's humans that are capturing, abducting. Maybe he's wrong about that part. It is aliens. So Dr. Greer, friends, I'll show you. He even has his YouTube channel, right? Man, he's got 800,000 subs now. Yeah, this guy's been blowing up, friends. Wow. You know all these interviews? All these interviews, friends. If you go, he's got some very early bombshell interviews of guys like I'm talking about the 1990s, right? Okay, so if you scroll all the way down, years and years ago, he's uploaded some old military interviews that are like, I'm talking, like the VHS stuff out here. Now, this funny, Richard Doty, Dr. Stephen Greer calls him straight disinformation agent. Dr. Stephen Greer is very anti-CIA, That's the crazy part, bro. That's how deep it goes. So did something go wrong there? Did he leave them? Could be it. But what I wanted to show you that is like the videos he shows, he will always highlight the part where a leaker from the government says the real deep UFO conspiracy is the abductions are from us. We have the tech. They say we have the mind manipulation stuff to basically we capture people and then we basically bust them up. They think they're getting abducted by aliens. They got abducted by guys either wearing suits or whatever it is. However, the technology they have to maybe manipulate your mind. So you come back and you think, oh, it's aliens. He goes, no, That's why Dr. Greer is always saying, no, it's not the aliens, it's humans. And he's always like very peaceful, saying, oh, the aliens are all good. Is that the PsyOps, that they're not all good? I was thinking about the world, right? What about humans? Yeah, 90% of us are good. Maybe like 1% need to literally be wiped off the face of the earth. Maybe it's the same with the other entities. Let's continue.
That being said, maybe Iran just doesn't like the Baha'i, just as they don't like all the other religions. Who knows? Brent also presented Danny with an op-ed piece written by Greer in the late 80s that seems to imply that Stephen Greer may also be secretly gay. Skylar was able to dig that one up too. And it is a real piece published in the Asheville Citizen on Friday, October 16th, 1987. It says, in part, I'm just going to read a little bit of it, quote, "We feel that the struggle for our civil rights as gay and lesbian citizens is intricately linked to all struggles against racism, sexism, and anti-Semitism in this country and worldwide." Later on it says, quote, "Gay and lesbian Americans are everywhere and among everyone. We have fought and died for this country. We are its doctors and nurses, artists and activists, construction workers and social workers, and we are, for the time being, most affected by the AIDS epidemic in the United States." So, Brent makes it very clear that he has nothing against gay people, just that the double life of a closeted gay person is concerning when we're talking about the top representative of the UFO disclosure community who is allegedly briefing presidents and CIA directors on the topic. Especially when he has links to Israel that just never seem to come up. It all seems a little fishy. Now, within this article, we don't have a photo to confirm that it's the right Stephen Greer, but we do have a middle initial. He is a doctor, and there's a connection to Asheville. The Stephen Greer we are talking about matches all of those criteria, so it doesn't seem likely that we're matching this to the wrong Greer. And if it is the same Greer, then it's interesting that he was married in Israel back in the 70s to a woman, and then referring to himself as a gay man in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? So, altogether, the UFO disclosure corner of the internet is a wild place. And it's an absolute cluster of ex-spooks, current spooks, suspicious characters, dubious stories, and wild claims. Some of them may be legit.
So, notice his language, what Ian says. The UFO disclosure section. Okay? It's like, we know there's a lot of stuff happening, but the UFO disclosure, so the D word, you'll hear all of the UFO people talk about disclosure. Disclosure is like this wet dream they have where they want the government to just admit they're real. So that, that's why, like, friends, crypto mavericks, we literally could not give a flying truck, bro. The government literally lies. Hell, it's not even probably the government half the time. Non-human intelligence, putting them in a trance and controlling them anyway. They're not gonna wake up the population. So this is why he's thinking about the different characters, Jeremy Cowboy, David Grush. So, disclosure means like, we're trying to get the government to admit they're real. Problem is, there's deep state black people there. Which part of the government, right? Marco Rubio and all these other politicians that come out. Half of them controlled, half of them aren't meant to know anything, not allowed to ask questions. That's what makes it tough. What do they want us to know? That they're real? Because everyone's got an agenda. So Dr. Stephen Greer he wants disclosure and to tell everybody that all aliens are cool and safe and it's only humans abducting them. That's his agenda. Jeremy Cowbell just basically wants, I've seen all this stuff. There's no agenda really I've seen by him. He's like, hey, we just want the government to say things are happening and whatever. David Grush is literally from the US military himself, and he's literally... he had like 50 eyewitnesses from within the military. He went to the SCIF, which is like the no satellite room, and you have to hand in your phone. And then he told the government, we have the exact locations of where we got the UFO ships and stuff out here. What's their agenda, man? That's why everyone's like, bro, we know there's an agenda somewhere. The government's like, okay, we're gonna tell them it's real eventually, but what's the minimum information we can tell them without basically making everyone jump at us? Is the right path to tell the people, yeah, aliens are real, don't worry about it? Or is it to tell them they're all good, or they're all dangerous, or we don't know where they're coming from? They're coming from out of space, when really they're coming from like interdimensional or like underneath the ocean. They got underground bases. We already know that around the sea, right? Like the Bermuda Triangle, friends. The Bermuda Triangle, there's many reports. There's literally a ship there. The Bermuda Triangle, we've had reports over like the decades, right? Where America, they basically sent submarines there. One of them, they basically like the ship, like blasted something and then moved. Right? Yeah, so it was a mothership. Yeah, so, and pretty much it was basically the warning, like, don't come here, dude. Do not come here next to us. Very interesting.
Some are most definitely running some sort of hidden agenda. There's really not a lot of clear answers of who is which. And ultimately, it's a cautionary tale to remind us all to think critically. Personally, my favorite evidence for UFOs comes from the telepathy tapes and CIA remote viewing programs. And often, Christians will take this whole topic to be an affront to God. And I argue, not at all. Humans used to think that God's creation was only the Eurasian and African continents. You would be a blasphemer to think differently. God's creation never used to include guns and planes and computers. Ultimately, God's creation is everything. And anything that we observe and see proof of is a part of that design. And to me, one of the most fascinating questions always lurking in the dark corners of every conspiracy convention is aliens. Is there proof? Are they here? And what on earth is really going on? I only know two things about aliens for sure. First, that we don't know for sure. And second, don't trust the government. That's our show for today.
Very interesting. Definitely don't trust the government. So we definitely know that for sure. So whatever the answer, they're going to come and they're trying to... Friends, even Lou Elizondo, he literally, in one of his streams, he says very carefully, he goes, we... It's kind of funny, man. You're meant to be a whistleblower, bro. What do you mean we? You're meant to be a whistleblower and you're saying like we, the government. He goes, we're trying to have a discussion with you, the population. What do you want to know? What does disclosure look like to you? Because obviously, and he basically just hints it. They just tell you straight out. They're like, oh, we don't want to tell you too much. Like, how much is enough for you to walk away? Here is AJ from the Wi-Files on Joe Rogan. Listen to this, friends.
But Doty has also, he said as recently as 2019, Hal Puthoff tried to recruit him for a disinformation campaign with ATIP.
Really? So
Hal Puthoff, friends. Remember Uncle Hal Puthoff? Remember from, he was on, I made the whole episode here. So Hal Puthoff, he was on Joe Rogan. Yes, known and linked to disinformation campaigns, right?
Hal Puthoff has been a part of disinformation campaigns.
Allegedly forever.
And what have they been doing with these disinformation campaigns? What have they been trying to muddle?
Just to keep guys like you and me fascinated and trying to figure stuff out while they can just operate their advanced technology in peace. God. Like, let them think it's aliens and UFOs. That's fine.
What a dirty thing to do to
filthy.
us.
Yeah, man. That's what it is. Yeah. There's a lot of PsyOps. They know way more. Way more. Yeah. So the paths split all the time, right? Interdimensional, definitely. Angels and demons, definitely. How much of it is in control? Okay. Are they just guiding humanity? They make us fight all the time, lighting a match under our bum to make us progress. What's even progression, right? Because you don't even know what happens, right? What really happens to our soul? We know it leaves us when we die. Does it come back? Okay. So, Mr. Fhoolzy, I'm starting to think there's zero non-PsyOps whistleblowers that are alive. All the real ones end up in some really bad accidents. So, very, very true. Who do they hate? Bob Lazar. Yeah. They still hate him. They really try to discredit him. Also, just to let you know, Lou Elizondo hates Dr. Stephen Greer. He won't even mention his name. So Dr. Stephen Greer, right? That shady early stuff. Maybe he left, man. We don't know. Maybe something happened along the way. But he gets a lot of UFO leaks, bro. How are you still alive? That's what I was always wondering. How is he still alive? Makes you think, man. Makes you think. So it's kind of funny. We're like way in the camp of, okay, definitely something's going on. Definitely we are monkeys in the zoo. They don't want us to know, but maybe it's for a good reason too, right? So I hope it blew your mind with that, friends. The UFO story continues, right? They're building up for something. Is it going to be fake alien invasion? What's a PsyOps going to be? We'll find out soon. Like, subscribe, belly button all. Catch you in the next one.